Coming to the detailed analysis of this poem, Church Going, let's take up the first stanza of the poem, Church Going. It reads, "Once I am sure there is nothing going on, I step inside, letting the door thud shut." Once I realize there is nothing going on. Inside the church, no ritual, no seriousness, nothing important. It's at this point that I step inside the church, letting the door thud shut. Now, this is indifference. Otherwise, if you visit church, mosque, temple, you have got a great reverence for these places. You will take off shoes outside the door and then you will enter with full silence, devotion, respect. You will open the door, with great caution and then, shut it with great care. No such thing here. The door is thud shut. Left behind, it could make ruckus, it could make great sound, great noise. He doesn't care about it. That's the skepticism towards religion, towards rituals, towards the customs, and perhaps towards the modernity. Because modern era taught us to be like that. But as I told you earlier in the introduction to Philip Larkin, that he was anti-modernist because he said that this modernism didn't give any joy whatsoever for us. So he would be just, overriding all those principles of modernism. So first up, that would be no respect for church. The door is thud shut, another church. As if church are of no significance. There are thousands in the city, one more. It's not the only church in the city. There are many. So one amongst those is here. Another church. And what is inside the church? Matting, seats and stone and little books, sprawling of flowers, cut for Sunday. Brownish now. Physical description of the things. It consists of matting, seats, books, flowers. They have been cut for Sunday and now they are not fresh at all. Which? The flowers. They are not also fresh, which shows that it's not only Philip Larkin who is showing indifference to the church. Even those, who are devout, are happy, bringing the flowers which have turned brownish or which are not fresh. Some brass and stuff up at the holy end. There are some other things also, some stuff, brass stuff at the holy end, where that maybe holy cross would be, or that desk would be, that lectern would be, where the Bible is kept and you go and read few verses and leave. The small neat organ and a tense, musty, unignorable silence. There are some neat organs. This neat organ may refer to the Pope, this may refer to the Jesus, this may refer to some other things in some pious things in the church. And then there is, unignorable silence. There's a silence which you cannot ignore. You just see there are 200 people sitting inside the church and not single of them, not one of them says something. So there's a strange kind of silence in it. Now this silence would be of devotion, but in this poem, in this context, it's not of devotion. It's like a fear. And it's strange. And you think that what's wrong with these people? How can they be silent? There must be some power who has managed them to keep that silent. And they're strangely silent. Breathed God knows how long. Breathed would be processed. And this silence has been put into their heads. They have been processed that when you are in the church, you have to be silent. God knows how long. There's a reference of God. But just as we say in daily life, it's not that important that God has come into this poem called Church Going. No, God is almost absent from this poem. This is for saying that God knows. Philip Larkin believes that God does not know, because Philip Larkin was an atheist. Hatless I take off my cycle clips in awkward reverence. Hatless. Now another thing which he is ignoring, another tradition, another ritual, another custom. When you go to the mosque, the temple, to the church, you cover your head. He goes hatless. Awkward reverence. No reverence at all. No devotion at all for this place called church. That was the first stanza. And it gives us an insight into this poem, what this poem would be about. As I said earlier in the introduction to this poem, that it's not about devotion to religion, but it's about indifference to religion. Because postmodern world brought this indifference to rituals, to religion, and in those days it was empiricism or logic or science which was more prevalent. And these people had that science in their DNA, that logic. So they hardly believed in these myths and religious kind of things. So here you also see there is awkward reverence. There is absolutely no reverence, no respect, no rituals being followed. Rather, there is indifference to all these. Now, coming to the second stanza of this poem, it reads, Move forward, run my hand around the font. From where I stand, the roof looks almost new, cleaned or restored. I move ahead, touch the font, and from where I stand, I can look at the roof of this church also. It's clean, strange. A reference to cleanliness. I don't know if it has been restored or cleaned. No, I have got no idea. Again, the indifference. He doesn't want to know. He doesn't want to have any knowledge of this church. What's going on in church is of no use to him. Someone would know, I don't. Maybe there is a person who knows what has been wrong with the floor. Whether it has been cleaned or restored, I don't know. He is showing that he doesn't know. The focus is that I don't know. He is telling you that I don't know, which doesn't mean that I don't know, but it means I don't care. I don't care about this church. I don't care about this religion. I don't care about the rituals. I don't care whether it's clean or it's not clean. It seems clean, good, but not worthy of knowing. Mounting the lectern, I pursue a few hectoring large-scale verses and pronounce, Here endeth, much more loudly than I would meant. Mounting the lectern. Lectern is the reading desk where the Bible is kept. And he says, I go there once, I go there. I read few hectoring verses, long verses, loudly. And then I pronounce, Here endeth more loudly than I would have meant. When it ends up, so I increase my voice. I become louder. The reason for this is again, not to show the people I have completed my job. Or this focus on here endeth is that I have ended something, not worth. I don't think it was worth reading. But I read it, I pursued it, and finally I ended it. The echoes snigger briefly. Snigger, these are the choice of words. Skepticism, indifference, careless attitude. The snigger is laugh, but laugh cynically. Scornfully. The echoes, as I say, here endeth, and that echo comes back to me and as if it laughs at me. What have you ended? What have you read so loudly? What have you said? Has laughed. Back at the door, I sign the book, donate an Irish sixpence, and then I leave this place. As I leave, I come to the door, and there at door I sign a book and donate Irish sixpence. Some money he donates. And then reflect, the place was not worth stopping for. And suddenly I realized that why did I stop here? Was it worth stopping? Perhaps not. It was not worth stopping. That was the second stanza. And the second stanza continues on the same tune of indifference. But now here he gives slightly more details about the activities that he does inside the church. He does the traditional conventional sort of activities like reading few verses from the Bible and other things. But then he realizes that this activity is not liked even by the echoes that are generated inside that church. And eventually he says that this place perhaps was not worth visiting for, as I reflected upon. Then we come to stanza 3.